The ice moon Varela was one of the coldest and most dangerous places in the galaxy. Windstorms howled like wild beasts, and sharp ice spikes covered the rocky hills. No plants grew there. No animals lived there. It was a place where only machines and prisoners existed. At the very center of the moon stood a high-security facility. It was deep underground, hidden beneath thick layers of frozen rock and steel. The prison was built not for many criminals, but for one. A single prisoner locked inside the lowest level, behind 10 layers of energy fields and titanium walls. Her name was Kira. She wasn't like others. She was not fully human. She had been created in a secret lab long ago, half human, half alien, with powerful abilities. Her body could heal quickly, her strength was beyond human limits, and her senses were sharp like a predator's. She was once called a weapon, used by an ancient alien empire to fight wars. But that empire was gone. And after its fall, she had no home, no mission, no control. She had been captured after destroying an entire alien cruiser in self-defense. Hundreds died. Governments across the galaxy declared her too dangerous to live freely. She was locked up on Varela, and guards were told never to speak to her, never to go near her cell. They said she'd kill anyone who came near. That's what everyone believed. And yet, someone came. Eli Maris was a young engineer from Earth. He had short brown hair, tired eyes, and a kind face. He wasn't famous. He wasn't a soldier. He was sent to Varela to repair communication systems and update the prison's power grid. When he arrived, the guards warned him, "Stay away from the lower level. Don't go near cell 0. That's where she is. If you go in, you won't come out." Eli asked, "Why? What did she do?" "She's a monster," one guard replied. "She tore through 3 guards once just to get a breath of fresh air. She doesn't talk, she doesn't think. She just waits for someone to come close, and then she attacks." But Eli didn't believe in monsters. He had studied old data files. He had read records that weren't shown on the news, and he saw something the others didn't. He saw pain. In one report, a doctor had said Kira had cried when she was first captured. In another, a recording showed her begging, "Don't lock me up, I don't want to hurt anyone." But those parts were cut from the public files. Eli kept thinking, what if she's not dangerous by choice? What if she's just scared and alone? That night, he stayed late. When the guards were changing shifts, he took a small maintenance drone and told the AI to scan the lowest floor. No problems detected, the drone said. So he made a decision. He took the lift down to cell 0. The hallway was dark and cold. Lights flickered. The air felt heavy. The moment Eli stepped closer to her cell, a red warning light flashed. Danger. Do not approach. But he didn't stop. Behind the thick glass window stood Kira. She was taller than he expected, her skin pale with a faint bluish tone. Her eyes glowed faintly under the dim light. Her arms were chained and her hair was long and messy like it hadn't been cut in years. She didn't move. She just stared at him. Eli felt his heart beating fast. Every warning in his mind screamed, "Leave now, go back." But he didn't move either. He raised his hand and gently waved. "Hi," he said, voice low but clear. Kira tilted her head slightly. Still, she didn't speak. She looked at him like he was some strange creature. "I'm not here to hurt you," he continued. "I just wanted to see you. I read about you." Still nothing. Eli stood there for a full minute. Then he took out a small book from his pocket. It was old, with a cracked cover. "This is a storybook. It's from Earth. I used to read it as a kid when I was scared." He placed it on the floor outside the energy field. "I'll leave it here. If you don't want it, that's fine." He turned and walked back to the lift. He didn't look back. He didn't even know why he felt the need to come. Maybe it was kindness, maybe curiosity, or maybe loneliness, recognized loneliness. The next day, he returned. Kira was in the same place, but this time, the book was gone. She had taken it. Eli smiled softly. Good choice. The story's about a fox and a little robot. They become friends even though they were built for different things. Kira blinked, still silent, but her eyes seemed softer. Day by day, Eli came again. He never touched the energy field. He never tried to open the door. He just sat across the hallway and talked. He told stories about Earth, shared funny memories, and sometimes even played music from his old recorder. Kira listened. Once she moved closer to the window. Then, on the 6th day, she finally spoke, Are not afraid? Eli looked up, surprised. Her voice was low and rough like it hadn't been used in years. I was, he admitted. But not anymore. Why? Because I think you're not what they say. Kira's eyes locked with his. There was something inside them. A quiet sadness. A broken spirit. She had been alone for so long, treated like a machine or a monster. But now, for the first time, someone saw her as a person. Above, in the control room, the guards watched the recordings. Some were angry, some were confused, but none could explain what was happening. And still, Eli kept going. He didn't care what the others said, because deep down, he believed. She didn't want to kill. She just wanted to be free. The cold metal walls of Virella's prison had never felt so quiet. The prisoner in cell 0 had not spoken a single word for years. And now, after just a few days of visits from a young engineer named Eli, she had finally spoken. You are not afraid? She had asked him. That one sentence echoed through Eli's head the entire night. He couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about her voice. Soft but tired. Rough but human. It didn't sound like a monster. It sounded like someone who had waited a very long time to be heard. The next morning, Eli skipped breakfast and went straight to the lower level. Kira was already at the edge of her cell, standing near the thick glass wall. The energy field hummed softly between them. Her eyes followed him as he walked in. Her hands were no longer clenched in fists. Her body no longer looked tense. She stood still, but curious. Eli smiled and waved. Good morning. Kira blinked, then slowly nodded. Morning. For a long moment, neither of them spoke again. Eli sat down on the floor just outside the cell, the same as he had every day. This time, though, he had brought something new. He held up a small music player. I thought maybe you'd want to hear something peaceful, he said. This is a song from Earth. It's old. No words, just soft music. He pressed play. A gentle tune filled the air, calm, slow, like wind blowing over water. Kira didn't speak, but she listened. Her eyes closed for a few seconds. When they opened again, she looked calmer. Pretty, she whispered. Eli smiled. Yeah. It helped me when I felt alone. She looked down. Alone. I know that feeling. For the next week they met every day. Eli told her about Earth, its oceans, forests, cities, and people. He told her how rain smells, how fireflies glow in the dark, and how families laugh together during meals. Kira listened carefully. She never asked for stories, but she never told him to stop either. One day, Eli brought a small drawing pad. I'm not good at art, but I wanted to show you something, he said. He had drawn a sunset. Orange skies, blue rivers, green hills. It was rough, but it was colorful. Kira stared at it for a long time. That's Earth? She asked. Not all of it, Eli laughed. But yeah, it's one of my favorite places. She reached her hand toward the drawing but stopped at the energy wall. Her fingers hovered close but couldn't touch it. I've never seen anything like this, she said. I hope one day you will, Eli replied. But not everyone was happy. Up. In the control room, Commander Harlan slammed his fist on the desk. This is dangerous, he shouted. She's manipulating him. Other guards watched the recordings silently. Some agreed. Others were unsure. She hasn't attacked, On technician said. Not yet, Harlan snapped, but she will. It's only a matter of time. Harlan sent a message to Earth Security Council. requesting permission to end all interaction with the prisoner. "She's unpredictable," he warned. "We can't risk it." But Earth didn't respond right away, and Eli kept coming. 1. Evening. Eli sat cross-legged outside Kira's cell holding a cup of hot tea. He looked tired but peaceful. Kira sat on the floor inside, her chains loosened slightly after years of no movement. "I used to think people hated me," she said quietly. Eli looked at her. "Why?" "Because everywhere I went, they looked at me like I was a monster. I didn't ask to be made this way. I didn't want to hurt anyone." "Then why did you fight?" Eli asked gently. Kira lowered her eyes. "Because they tried to control me. I was trained like a weapon, but I had thoughts, feelings. I didn't want to be used, so I escaped. They chased me. I panicked. I fought back. I didn't know how to stop." Eli nodded slowly. "And after that, they locked you here?" "Yes," she said. "They didn't ask questions. They just saw what I could do and decided I was too dangerous." Silence filled the room again. Only the soft hum of the energy field could be heard. Eli leaned back. "I don't think you're dangerous, not anymore." She looked up at him. "Why?" "Because you haven't hurt me. You've had many chances." Kira stayed quiet, then said, "You're different. You look at me like I matter." Later that night, Eli walked into the main hall and found a group of guards waiting for him. Commander Harlan stepped forward. "You are not allowed to visit Cell 0 anymore." Eli frowned. "Why?" "You're risking the entire facility," Harlan said. "She's dangerous. We're here to guard her, not make friends." "I disagree," Eli said calmly. "I think we've been wrong about her. She's not a threat unless we make her feel like one." "She's a killer," Harlan snapped. "She's a person," Eli replied. The guards didn't respond. Eli walked away. The next day, he didn't show up. Kira waited by the wall. Hours passed. No one came. She paced the cell, eyes fixed on the hallway. The music player, the drawing, the book, all of it was still with her. For the first time in years, she felt something strange. Worry. Was he hurt? Was he banned? Did they send him away? Then, footsteps. She looked up. Eli appeared, face tired but smiling. "They tried to stop me," he said. "But I told them, I'm not afraid, and I don't care what they think." Kira stepped closer to the glass. "Why do you keep coming back?" Eli looked at her, voice quiet and honest. "Because I see you." From that day, something changed. Kira no longer stood like a prisoner. She stood like a person. She began speaking more, asking questions, smiling, just a little. She told him about her memories, how the scientists had trained her, how they punished her when she failed, how she ran the day they told her she would be upgraded. "They didn't see me as someone," she said, "only as a tool." "But I see you," Eli said again. "And maybe others will too someday." But far away on Earth, a reply finally came. The message read, "Terminate all unauthorized contact with subject Kira. If threat level rises, initiate full containment protocol." Commander Harlan smiled. Eli never saw the message, and the storm was coming. The skies above the frozen moon Varela were dark as always. Storm winds blew across the icy surface. Far below the ground in the hidden prison, the air had become heavy with tension. Commander Harlan stood alone in the control room, eyes fixed on the glowing message from Earth. "Terminate all unauthorized contact with subject Kira. If threat level rises, initiate full containment protocol." He read the message again and again. This was his chance. He had waited for this order. To him, Kira was not a person. She was a weapon waiting to break free. Eli's kindness, his visits, his hope. It was foolish in Harlan's eyes. Dangerous. Weak. "Finally," Harlan whispered. Meanwhile, Eli walked down the hallway toward the lower level like he always did. He held a small projector in his hands. Today, he planned to show Kira a video of Earth's sky. He wanted her to see stars from another view, through the eyes of someone who was free. But when he reached the lift, a guard stepped in front of him. "You're not allowed down there," the guard said. Eli frowned. "What do you mean? I've been going down every day. New orders. From Earth." Eli's heart sank. He didn't argue. He knew the guard was just following commands. But as he turned and walked away, a fire began to grow inside him. He had seen the change in Kira. She had become calmer, softer. She had begun to trust again. That didn't come from nowhere. That came from connection, from being treated like a human being. And now, they wanted to end it. Kira sat silently in her cell. She had waited for Eli all morning, but he didn't come. Not in the morning, not in the evening. Her hands were cold, her mind restless. For the first time in years, she felt the sting of disappointment. Not from hatred or fear, but from hope being taken away. She looked at the drawing Eli had given her. The hills, the rivers, the colors. She ran her fingers across the page. Was it all a lie? Did he leave like the others? Then she heard a sound, a soft beep at the wall. She turned. A small maintenance drone rolled toward her cell. A blinking light on its side flashed 3 times. Then a message played. Eli's voice. "They've stopped me from visiting, but I haven't forgotten you. I'll find a way." Her eyes widened. She took a deep breath. He hadn't left her. He still cared. Upstairs, Eli worked fast. He wasn't a soldier, but he was good with systems. He used the excuse of fixing power lines to access restricted terminals. Quietly, carefully, he checked the prison's internal communication systems. Then he moved to security cameras, then to door controls. What he found chilled him, a file labeled Containment Protocol, Subject Kira. He opened it. Inside were plans to disable her energy shield, release sleeping gas into her cell, and neutralize any resistance. It was to happen within 48 hours. "They're going to kill her," Eli whispered. That night, Eli sat in his quarters thinking, "Should I run? Should I report this? Or should I save her?" He remembered the way Kira had spoken to him, the way she had listened, the way she had begun to smile. She wasn't a monster. She was just someone who had been used, hurt, and thrown away, just like anyone could be. And now, she needed someone to fight for her. He made his choice. The next day, Eli pretended to follow his normal routine. But instead of going to the workshop, he went to the hidden maintenance tunnels. These tunnels ran between every level of the prison and were only used during emergencies. He carried a small bag, tools, a data chip, and 1 energy pistol he had taken quietly from the security room. He didn't plan to use it. He just hoped he wouldn't need to. As he moved through the dark tunnel, his mind raced. If he got caught, he would be locked up. Maybe worse. But if he didn't act, Kira would be gone. He reached the back wall of the lower level. He opened a small control panel and began hacking the energy field. Inside her cell, Kira stood at the edge of the wall. The lights flickered. She sensed something, then a soft crackle. The field vanished. The door slid open slowly. She didn't move at first. She didn't trust it. Could this be a trick? Then she saw Eli, standing in the hallway, breathing hard, tools in his hand. "I'm getting you out," he said. She blinked. "Why?" "Because you don't belong here," he said. "Because you deserve more than a cage." Kira stepped forward slowly, like walking through a dream. "You're going to get in trouble." "I know," Eli said, "but I'd rather be in trouble than live with the guilt of doing nothing." They moved fast through the maintenance tunnel. Eli had already shut off camera feeds. They had 10 minutes, maybe less, before the system rebooted, but just as they reached the lift, the alarm sounded. Red lights, sirens, loud voices. Security breach in level 0. Eli turned to Kira. "Run." But she didn't run. She turned and faced the hallway. Guards were already coming. "Go," she said. "I'll hold them." "No," Eli said. "I didn't come here to leave you behind." Kira looked at him, surprised. "Why are you risking everything?" Eli looked into her eyes. "Because someone has to believe in you first. Maybe then others will." The guard stormed into the hallway. "Drop your weapon. Step away from the prisoner." Eli held his hands up. "Wait, she's not dangerous." But they didn't listen. They aimed their stun rifles. Kira stepped in front of him. Her arms raised. "I don't want to fight," she said calmly, "but I won't let you hurt him." The guards paused. She didn't attack. She didn't scream. She stood like a person. One of the guards lowered his weapon. She's not attacking," another one stepped forward. "Sir, what do we do?" Before anyone could answer, Commander Harlan arrived. His eyes burned with rage. "Fire," he shouted. Kira's eyes narrowed. But before anything happened, a new voice came from the speakers. "Cease all action. Earth security has reviewed recent data. Termination order suspended." Everyone froze. Subject Kira is to be moved for reassessment. Engineer Eli Maris will be debriefed. This case is not closed. The sirens stopped. The guns lowered. Eli let out a long breath. Kira looked at him confused. "They're not killing me?" she asked. "Not today," Eli said with a tired smile. "Maybe they finally saw what I saw." That night, Kira sat in a different room. It was still inside the prison, but it had a bed, a chair, and even a small window. Her first window in years. Eli stood outside, watching her from the hallway. He wasn't sure what would happen next. There would be questions, investigations, maybe punishment. But for now, Kira was safe, and she knew now. Someone cared enough to see her not as a weapon, but as a person. The cold room where Kira now stayed was small but different from her old cell. There was light from a window, soft and warm. It was the first time in many years she had felt the sun's touch. She sat on the bed, staring out. Outside, stars shone brightly over the icy world of Varela. The sky was vast and silent. It reminded her of the endless space she had once known. Inside, she heard footsteps. The door slid open gently. Eli stepped inside. His face was tired but calm. He carried a small bag. "Good evening," he said softly. Kira looked at him. "You came?" "I promised I would." He sat down beside her. They spoke quietly. No more guards. No more fear. Eli shared stories from Earth again. This time, about people who never gave up, who fought for peace and friendship even when it seemed impossible. Kira listened, her eyes softening. "I want to try," she said. "Try what?" Eli asked. "To live differently. To be more than what they made me." Days passed. Eli worked with Earth's team through secure channels. He explained everything, the way Kira had changed, how she showed no signs of violence, how she responded to kindness. Some officials were still wary, but others wanted to understand. One important figure was Dr. Lena Harrow, a psychologist from Earth. She was sent to Varela to meet Kira and help decide what would happen next. When Dr. Harrow arrived, Kira was nervous. She had never spoken to someone like this before, but Eli stayed close. The first meeting was quiet. Dr. Harrow asked simple questions. "Do you want to live in peace?" "Yes," Kira said. "Do you trust us?" "I want to," she replied. Over. Weeks, more sessions followed. Kira began to open up. She talked about her past, not just the pain, but the small moments of hope she had held on to. She spoke of her dreams for a life beyond fear. Meanwhile, Eli continued to visit her every day. He brought books, music, and pictures. One day he showed her a photo of a green forest on Earth. "Trees," he explained. "They grow tall and strong. They breathe life into the air." Kira touched the photo gently. "I want to see a forest," she whispered. Eli smiled. "Maybe one day you will." They laughed quietly, but not everyone believed the change was real. Commander Harlan watched everything with a hard stare. "This is a mistake," he said to the council. "She is a weapon. She will strike when we least expect it." The council was divided. Some saw Kira as a chance to heal old wounds. Others feared her power. They decided on a test. If Kira could pass a trial proving she was no longer dangerous, they would allow her to leave the prison and begin a new life. If she failed, the original order would be enforced immediately. Kira accepted the challenge without hesitation. The trial day arrived. Kira was escorted to a large chamber designed for simulations. The room was cold and empty, except for a holographic screen. Eli stood nearby, his hand barely touching hers. The trial was simple but difficult. Kira had to face a simulation where she was surrounded by hostile guards. The test was to see if she would fight or find another way. The simulation started. Guards appeared, shouting commands. Kira's heart raced, but instead of attacking, she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She remembered Eli's words. "There is always another way." Slowly, she raised her hands, not in anger, but in peace. She spoke softly. "I don't want to fight." The simulation guards lowered their weapons. The room went silent. The test was over. After the trial, the council gathered to discuss. Dr. Harrow spoke first. "Kira's behavior is genuine. She chose peace over violence even when provoked." Some council members nodded. Commander Harlan remained silent. The decision was made. Kira would be freed from prison, but under careful supervision. She would be given a chance to prove herself in the outside world. When the news reached Kira, she felt a mix of relief and fear. "Freedom," she whispered. Eli smiled. "It's your chance." She looked at him, eyes shining. "Thank you for believing in me." Before leaving the prison, Kira walked once more through the corridors that had held her for so long. She touched the cold walls. She thought of the past, the fear, the anger, the loneliness. Then she looked forward. A new path was waiting. Outside the prison, Eli and Kira stepped onto the frozen surface of Varela. The wind was sharp, but the stars above were bright. Kira breathed deeply. For the first time, she felt hope. The cold wind of Varela brushed softly against Kira's face as she stepped out of the prison for the first time in many years. Her breath formed small clouds in the chilly air. Above, the stars shone like bright diamonds, endless and free. Eli walked beside her, steady and calm. He had never seen her look so peaceful. "Where will you go now?" he asked quietly. Kira looked up at the sky. "I don't know, but I want to learn how to live, like everyone else." Eli smiled. "Then we will find a way. Together." The days that followed were full of small steps. Kira and Eli traveled to a nearby settlement where people lived in harmony with the harsh environment. It was a place where different species and cultures mixed, working together to survive and thrive. For Kira, it was a world full of new sights, sounds, and smells. She listened carefully to conversations, watched how people smiled and helped each other. Sometimes she felt unsure, like she was learning a new language with every breath. But Eli was always there, guiding her. One morning, Kira sat by a small fire with some settlers. They shared stories and food. Kira learned to smile without fear. A little girl approached her shyly and held out a small flower. Kira looked at the delicate gift and felt something warm in her chest. She knelt down and took the flower. "Thank you," she said softly. The girl smiled and ran back to her family. Eli watched, feeling hope grow inside him. But the world outside was not always kind. News came that some people still feared Kira. They called her a monster, a threat. One day, a group arrived at the settlement. They were armed and angry. "Bring us Kira," their leader demanded. "She must be returned to Earth custody." The settlers were scared but stood firm. Eli stepped forward. "Kira is not a danger. She has changed." The leader laughed. We'll see. Kira knew this moment could come. She had to face it. She stood tall, facing the armed men. I am not a weapon, she said. I am a person. Her voice was calm, but strong. The leader sneered. Words are easy. Prove it. Suddenly, one of the men lunged forward, trying to grab her. Kira moved quickly, but without violence. She caught his wrist and held it gently. Stop, she said firmly. The man froze, surprised. Kira's calm and confidence spread like a quiet wave. Slowly, the armed men lowered their weapons. After that day, Kira became a symbol of hope. She showed that even those who were feared could change, that kindness and trust could break down walls built by fear. Eli stayed by her side, proud of how far she had come. Together, they helped build bridges between worlds, teaching others that every person, no matter their past, deserved a chance. One evening, as they sat under the stars, Kira looked at Eli. Thank you, she said, for never giving up on me. Eli smiled. I never believed you would hurt me. I believed in the real you. Kira's eyes shone with gratitude. They knew the journey ahead would not be easy, but for the first time, they faced it not as prisoner and visitor, but as friends, as equals, and that was all that mattered.